full disclosure, I'm not in a great mood. Okay? I'm not in a great mood. The name of the episode is the Overreaction Pod.
So you know what we're going to do?
Don't expect me to react normally.
No.
To what I saw on Saturday from Georgia. But I guess we're going to talk about it here on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Look, here's the deal. Dave's not happy. I'm not happy. You're probably not happy. This is Overreaction Theater, and we're not gonna patty cake anything, Daniel. We got three things to talk about. One, defensive line, and how all of you should be ashamed of yourself that if you play the three interior spots for Georgia because you got manhandled by Kent State. By the way, really quick, I feel bad. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn. Oh. We love you. You're the best.
Sorry, LinkedIn.
You're not the problem with our defensive line. You're fantastic. Nope. This episode is brought to you by our defensive line. Needs to go ahead and get it in gear. We're going to talk about that. Secondly, we got some offensive weapons that were rather dulled. They were rounded instead of sharp. Mm-hmm. They were dirtied and sullied and disgusting.
One of them rounded off his route and just allowed, if you want to.
He went for a nice stroll. He didn't realize that he was supposed to continue on sprinting through the break of the route. Okay. We're going to talk about offensive weapons and how they fared. And then I'm going to end the episode by telling you how. I'm just going to leave it to the loyal third segment listeners. You only
get the nuggets at the end if you're a loyal third segment listener.
That's right. That's right.
For that.
So let's start with the defensive line and how awful across the board they were.
It wasn't good, Clint. I mean, I'm not making this up, right? Am I making this up?
No.
Jalen Carter didn't play.
Eye test said not good.
I understand. Jalen Carter is the best defensive player in all of football. If he's not in your lineup, you're going to miss him. There's no dispute from me about that. I understand. That's all we need. I don't need to say more about that because that's not a reason why our defensive
Does he play front all three positions at one time, Daniel?
Should have been getting pushed around and manhandled. This is Zion Logue.
Hey.
I thought this was going to be a year for you. I thought we were going to do things this year.
I heard some things preseason.
Nazir Stackhouse. I thought you were ready to step up. Tyron Ingram Dawkins. Bear Alexander. Bill Norton. Should we keep going? Where was Mykel Williams? Did he make the flight to Athens for this game? Was he on the travel squad?
Daniel, you have to remember this was a noon kick, Daniel. So
does he sleep in?
Sleepy still.
Well, that's interesting. Don't act like Kent State scores were all these like fluky plays. Okay, I understand. No. We muff a punt, they kick a field goal. That's how they get their first. That's how they get their first points. I understand. Second points is safeties taking bad angles on kids running screaming down the sidelines. Which I'm not even trying to get into that because I'm trying to get this pod over with. To be honest with you. But don't act like it was fluky plays because for the rest of the game,
it wasn't, y'all.
Kent State really moved the ball on Georgia. They pushed us around. They converted third and shorts.
You mean the fourth quarter in which the cat, who's Darren Sproles' younger, smaller brother, decided to just go ahead and dart his way, not scat backing on the outside, not hitting screens, but up the gut.
I'm talking about offensive linemen blowing us off the ball. Now, Bear Alexander, there were some freshmen in the game, Clint. There were also some juniors and seniors in the game, Clint. I get Jalen Carter's going to be back, and that's going to improve things up front. But where are these other guys? This was a pretty sad showing for the defensive line.
It was. Look, Kirby has said time and time again, you win and lose in the SEC on the line of scrimmage in the trenches. And he's made it an emphasis to be nasty and hard fought. This was not nasty nor hard fought at all
And while we're here, the offensive line played like garbage as well.
We're going to get to them we're going to come back on Tuesday, but just so you know, Daniel walked me off the ledge of Xavier Truss a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I'm out there. I'm just grabbing you around the neck, and we both jumping.
We going because Xavier Truss. Fool me once, fool me 872 times.
Get off my team.
You
Get
are
off
bad
my team.
at left guard. Can Mims slot over at left while he's waiting for right tackle?
All right, let's talk about some offensive playmakers, Clint, because I can't. This defense. Oh, did my microphone just die? I'm
going to talk about LinkedIn. Daniel's going to come back after he refreshes. But first, I want to let you know about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your fantastic place to go right now for all the things that you need as it pertains to recruiting people for your job that you need. LinkedIn has the right recruits for you. They're not going to go in and do this weird thing with the wrong resumes or the wrong people, the wrong questionnaires, anything like that. What it's going to do is LinkedIn is going to get you the right applicant for your job right now. With over 810 million people, Daniel, just shy of the amount of, probably the amount of mistakes the defensive line made on assignment reading. But LinkedIn has 810 networks. It all the networks across the nation, across the world to get you the right applicant that you need. Right now, head over to LinkedIn.com/lockedoncalls. That's LinkedIn.com/lockedoncalls to post your job for free right now.
How's this mic, Clint?
It's great.
We doing great?
No, Daniel, it's great. In a word.
Just so we're clear, maybe you saw the first YouTube video. It was up for about 13 minutes.
A hot minute.
I think like 90 of you saw it in those 13 minutes, but it gone. And now here we go again.
It was, Daniel, in a word, it was much like the performance of route running, pass catching, run after the catch, and protection of the football of our wide receiver groups, which means that it should have just gone ahead and stayed home today, called in sick, because that's what it seemed like a lot of us were doing on the wide receiver.
Let's start from the top.
Please.
We know that Ladd McConkey had the worst game of his career. It would have been better if he didn't show up today.
In all his years of playing high school, junior high, college football, that was the worst he's ever played.
Now listen, the thing you should take away from that is that Ladd McConkey has shown you that's not who he is. So
it's not Ladd.
We're not on this podcast talking about we have a Ladd McConkey problem. I don't believe that for a second. We know A.D. Mitchell was not in this game. He could have gone, Kirby says. He could have gone. He always could go. They always could go.
So you know Kirby's, he will literally say that when asked about any single injured player.
Guess
he could have gone if we need him to.
Kenny Mack this upcoming week.
Yep.
He could go, but we're optimistic. We feel good about it. I mean,
if we really
feel
needed him, he could go.
He could have come back in this game if we really needed him. We feel like we had the game in hand, but I'm talking about every other receiver on this team. Karis Jackson, Don Blaylock, these are good players.
Great players.
Why can they not get the ball in their hands? Dylan Bell, I'm sorry, but I'm seeing a lot of freshmen in this kid. There's a lot of freshmen in Dylan Bell. Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint, I think we may have a problem. I think we may have an actual Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint problem.
We not may have a problem. We have a problem. We had a problem. The problem is continuing.
That interception was on him. That was his fault. It was the laziest route I've ever seen. The defensive back simply wanted the football, and Marcus did not want the football, and that's why he ended up with it. I'm not seeing enough out of these wide receivers. Now, do we have tight ends? Yes, we do. Do we have backs? We have one.
One.
And he may only have one leg, so we don't know. But you take the tight ends out of this game, Clint, we may not score a point in this thing. Like, it was the wide receiver play was that bad. Now, again, I know A.D. Mitchell's going to come back and he's going to be fine. I know Ladd McConkey is going to shake this off. He's going to be fine. But these other guys, Clint, that's what I'm trying to say. You can rationalize the Kent State all you want, but I think you have to look at what did we see? We saw the defensive line has got some serious weaknesses, and there are some teams on our schedule that are going to be able to exploit those weaknesses.
Kentucky,
by the way.
Florida.
Yeah, there's plenty of teams that are going to be able to do that. We saw that the receiver play, once you get past those top two, is suspect at best.
The gap is large between
It's
2 and 3.
significant. So, Todd Monken's system, we need to be able to spread the ball around. We need to be able to diversify our wealth. That's how the system works.
See,
and you can't do that if the wide receivers are not viable weapons.
Here's what we need to understand. If you are watching Todd Monken is a surgical mastermind. He's not like Lincoln Riley. Here's what Lincoln Riley does. He's waiting for something to pop open. Ryan Day, Ohio State. You're just looking for something to pop, and when it does, it's going to go for 50. Todd Monken is setting you up.
Josh Whipple.
Josh Whipple is just waiting for something to hit down the road. So you have that tri-stack on one side. One guy does a screen, one guy does a hook, and one guy does a go, and you're waiting for the DBs to suck up on something, then you hit the other. That's what they're doing, okay?
Sure.
Todd Monken is a surgical mastermind. He is setting you up, and he's getting ahead of the chains to keep on schedule so that you cannot take away something. You cannot become one-dimensional. And if you don't have receivers to catch these passes and keep ahead of the chains, you can't have Brock Bowers come in motion and all of a sudden take a read sweep, which, by the way, it wasn't the green sweep. It wasn't outside. It was the read sweep. It was inside. It was beautiful. It was great. It was early on. You can't do that if defenses are sucking up because they know the outside guys aren't going to go ahead and get 7 or 10. There's no threat. We need these guys to catch. Daniel, I want to take you to another playmaking threat that's not a threat anymore. And look, I'm going to make a couple disclaimers, and then I'm going to overreact, and I don't care. So disclaimers.
It's the name of the episode.
It's the name of the episode, y'all. And so come at me with all veracity you want.
Sure.
Kendall Milton is a talented young man.
Oh boy. Here we go.
I don't want to see
sentence that starts like that. You know how it's
with all due respect.
It's not you, it's me.
With all due respect. Anytime somebody says with all due respect, they are not going to be respectful after that. Nothing is respectful at all about that. But let me continue and tell you why I say Kendall Milton is fantastic. He's gifted. He's talented. But here's the problem with Kendall Milton. He's not producing at any rate that gives me any ability to have any faith in him toting the rock. He does not make the first man miss. He does not make the second man miss. He doesn't make anybody miss. He can't shake a tackle. And when he gets grabbed around the legs, he doesn't have the leg turn to keep going. Kendall Milton, I'm sorry, you might be talented at 15-yard head start, running, sprint. All that is great if a guy's going to come tackle you in the hole like Iowa and play grown man football. But all of a sudden you get a DB going at somebody's thighs. Kendall Milton is going down in a hurry. So here's my overreaction. I want all the lion shares of carry to go to 2 men. One of those men may not be able to physically take that load of carries.
He can hop down the field. It's fine.
Kenny Mack may hop down the field just fine. I want Dajon Edwards being the second back in this offense. I want the first back being Kenny McIntosh. I want the second being Dajon Edwards. I want the third being Milton. And I don't want anything else to mess with that. For the love of all that is good, make that be the case because he is not it, y'all.
It's pretty gross that we're here. It's not like Kendall Milton's bad at football.
No.
But he's the third best back on this team. And I'm sorry, if you have a dispute about that, it has to do with things that you've seen not on a football field this season.
Correct.
Because you cannot point me to football that's been played this season and tell me that Kendall Milton's not the third best back on this team. Because all the football points to something else, and that is Kenny Mack, Dajon Edwards, Kendall Milton. That's the order that we want to see the carries. All right, Clint, I'm going to give you the mic in the third segment because we're going to come back. Before we do that, I just let the record show that Georgia wasn't the only team that struggled on Saturday.
Hello.
You might think I'm going to talk about an SEC East rival. You might think I'm going to talk about another team. No, I'm going to talk about the team of Taylor Zarzor and Matt Stinchcomb. Now, listen, some people are going to get very offended.
He's in the Ring of Honor.
Because Matt Stinchcomb is a damn good dog.
He is.
And he is a damn poor broadcaster.
There it is. Two things true at the same time.
Taylor Zarzor might be the worst play-by-play guy in America.
I would rather be borderline assaulted by RG3's very, very, very suable phrasing
Yep.
than Taylor any day of the week.
If you would choose Taylor Zarzor over Beth Mowins, you need to reevaluate your life.
You have some problems.
And that's a legitimate fact. This booth was clueless for the vast majority of this game.
Couldn't get names, couldn't say things. There was one point where he said Dejon Edwards is the more traditional on the ground rushing, gaining back. And I said, on the ground rush gaining? What?
That's who he is. You know him.
Isn't that the point of every guy who takes rushing attempts?
Third segment, we're coming back. Clint's taking the mic.
Here's the deal. Let me take the mic, Daniel. And you and I started off this game talking. We were very jovial. Brock Bowers takes it 77 yards. Longest run of the year for Georgia. We're all high and mighty. We're feeling good. We see Pops come out, hit a couple fools, bring them back, smiles out there. We're feeling great. We're feeling good. We got a block punt. Texts are flying. About midway through the second quarter, the texts were no longer flying between you and I.
No.
The radio went silence.
Yeah. There's nothing to text about. I lost my phone. My daughter's playing sneaky Sasquatch on my phone. I'm not interested in taking it back from her. In fact, I looked over and I was like, oh, you're driving into the camp. Like, if you put on that disguise, the ranger won't be able to find you. You go
and I'm thinking to myself, how do I get with that program? Because what was on the television was not good. Now, we end the game, and Daniel and I start changing our tune and exchanging texts back to each other. And he's a little bit more sour than me. I'm a little bit more optimistic. And I want to tell you why I'm optimistic.
Still sour.
Still
quite sour.
I've become more sour.
You mentioned Oregon, Iowa earlier, and he mentioned them. That was a Freudian slip. You just got a window into my man Clint's head.
The bets didn't go my way on the night session. Day session went very well. Night session, not so much. Okay, I digress. Here's why I become bitter, but I'm not as bitter as some of you fans, and maybe not as much as Daniel. And the reason is exactly what Kirby said. I texted Daniel what Kirby said after the game, and it's because this is bound to happen to good teams. And if you can win ugly, and I know that's a football euphemism, and I know that's like a thing you just say, but we had 3 turnovers. We had fumbles, we had muffed punts, we had interceptions, we had bad route running. Everybody played the worst they ever played. It's hard to get up for a noon kickoff against Kent State. I know all of that is true. We have to be focused. We're the number 1 team in the nation. We have talent and coaching. But at the same time, if 17-point swing based upon turnovers. So you take 17 points away from Kent State or you give 17 points to us, the game looks a lot different. That's the swing that took place between the first quarter, second quarter, halftime coming out of that. And Daniel, this defense was young and inexperienced. We knew this was going to come up. When they are doing great, when they're rolling against a team like Oregon that wants to get the ball out quick because they're afraid of our physicality and our speed. Kent State was not afraid of our physicality and our speed. They just thought, we'll out-scheme and assign them all day long. And guess what they did? They out-schemed and assigned us, and then they took it to us because our guys weren't able to read and react at all. Okay. So if that's the case, what I'm suggesting is it's not as bad as it could be because the defense is only going to get better. We knew we were going to have a couple setbacks. Inexperience comes, but these guys can pop. They can run. Our offense had no play weapons outside of Brock. Everybody played awful. We still gutted out a win. And Kirby said after the game, I'm glad this happened to us. I'm glad we got it out of our system. We're going to go coach. We're going to go run them. We're going to do some gassers. We're going to get this all on film. The guys are going to be embarrassed come tomorrow when they get back into the locker room and they are up on the screen and Kirby just rewinding and playing and rewinding and playing and rewinding and playing all day long. It's going to be bad. And Kirby said, I'm glad we're here. And Georgia fan, you should be glad they're there. Now, here's the problem with that. And so that's why I was a little bit happier than Daniel, because at the end of the day, we have to endure games like this, Daniel. You and I have to watch games like this. And we have to sit there with a lot of bad stuff coming out. We have to hear
ominous music. It's ominous. It's very ominous.
It's not Halloween yet, Daniel. I get that, Georgia fan. Thank goodness it happened against Kent State. Thank goodness it happened with an inexperienced defense. They're going to keep on getting reps. The skill is there. We've got to have to clean some things up. Thank goodness it happened when our playmakers weren't making plays at all. And Daniel, it's going to be okay. I promise you.
Agree to disagree. Well said. We'll see you on Tuesday. Locked On Bulldogs podcast. We'll see y'all later.